All right, everyone. This is a little long overdue because Justin Dizazzo, has been away on vacation, but we're here to do a deck profile today on his PPG first place deck. And yeah, Luffy, how about you give a little intro about yourself?
What's up, guys? My gamer tag is LuffyTCG. I've had it for over 15 years, competing in many games, different ones, card games, FPS shooters, all that jazz. And I'm going to show you the deck I crushed the tournament with. And yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with the main card of the whole deck, which is Bonnie. Play 4 of these. I wish I can play 5. She is just the whole deck. When I mulligan, I only go for her. Maybe if I'm playing versus Red Luffy, I'll go for like a newcomer or something. Combos like that. But every other deck, I want this. I'll always mulligan for this. And if I get this, I'm most likely beating you. And then these are my engines for the deck. To get some cards, more cards. It's not very important, but it's amazing when you have Nami very early on, and then when you get to turn 3 or 4, you play the Bonnie, tap her, and then return the Nami for the Law, and then the Law for the Bonnie, and you go off. That's basically the whole deck. I always only summon Bonnie only when I can use her effect and bounce her back. I never summon her before unless I'm playing a deck like Blue or a deck that just can't really kill this card on the board. I'll never take the chance ever. Nami I'll always summon to fill the board and get the Straw Hat so I can get like, the other 1-drops like Chopper or Brook, help me out, fill the board. The 3 Momos, I never tap these guys. They're only here for fillers on the board. I always want to get my combo off on turn 3, whether I have 5 or 6 mana. And I would only ever tap this guy if I have the free mana and I have to I can send him back for a Luffy. If I don't have a Bonnie, then I guess I can just tap him and return him to my hand and summon Luffy. That's usually the only time I ever tap him. Other than that, he's just to fill the board, to get more 1-drops. To get 5 guys on the board. That's basically it for these guys. I would personally maybe cut out 1 Momo for a second Robin for the Treasure Cup, because I'm having trouble with Red Luffy sometimes. I don't lose to it, but it comes close, and I just think the Robin would be a bit better versus that deck, to be honest. So that's the only change I would make. I'll just take out 1 Momo for 1 Robin right now, but everything else is just solid. And the blockers for the deck, there's 16 of them, but 12 of them are all low-cost guys to fill the board. My strategy for the very early game of this deck is to never block. I don't care if you attack me. I just want to have 5 guys on the board by turn 3 all the time. It's very hard to do sometimes versus green because they just tap all your stuff, but mostly versus the other decks, I'll always get my guys or my board filled to 5, and then I can just use my Hero's Effect really early on, and you're probably just going to lose. So this is really abusive. These are just low cost. You can get this with Nami. You can get this with Bonnie. You can also get this with Bonnie, and you can draw a card. If you block with this, it's really broken. There's 16 blockers in the deck with the laws, the 5 mana law, and yeah, you can survive pretty darn long with these guys. Once again, these guys are also board fillers. You don't want to block with these ever early on. You only want to block if you're on turn 4 or 5, and you want to get rid of a guy on board so you can summon your Bonnie back again, tap the Bonnie, summon whatever you got, right? So you always want to do that, and that's basically it for the blockers. These are very important cards in the deck. You need to play every single one of those. Okay, then we got some more low drops. Otama, the Brooks, the Nekomoshis. I don't play Izo. He was too much mana. The 2K counter was good, but I like to have less mana because, once again, the whole deck is just playing Bonnie, tapping her, and summoning whatever you get. You tend to not have much mana doing that constantly every time. And Nekomomoshi is amazing you know, obviously to tap the blockers. If you're playing versus Robins, if you're playing versus a red Luffy, you want a mulligan for this. It's so important. If he summons Robin, he's going to probably win the game if you cannot kill it. And if you do have that for his Robin, you can just summon this and Brook, let's say on turn 4, and hit his Robin for 7k with your hero. Or you can summon Nekomamushi Onotama and hit his 2k Robin. Pretty much kill it with your hero. That's very important versus that matchup. Other than that, this guy just taps, and red-green Law, you get rid of his board. You don't make him get 5 creatures. Otama, amazing versus green decks. You want to be able to jet pistol with her. You can kill a bunch of guys that are tapped, or rested rather. And Brook obviously helps you fill the board without wasting mana really that much. You can summon him and, you know, give the 2 rested mana to somebody, which is really helpful. You can sometimes give it to the blocker. I do that a lot. And other than that, you just keep them for a counter. They're amazing for counters. And yeah, you just use them to fill the board. If you don't have anything on turn 2, you know, when you have 2 Dawn or 4 Dawn, I usually just play Brooks. You know, I can play a Brook. I even summon sometimes Neko. Sometimes on turn 1, I just summon Otama because I'm going to return her back with my Law anyway. So, you know, anything to fill the board for turn 3, basically. And yeah, let's go on to the next. Okay. All right. Got the Zoros. Very important. Rush cards. These work amazing with the Laws. Got the Robin. We got the 3 Luffys. We got the 4 Laws. These are the guys you mostly return to your hand and use your hero's effect with. I'll start with Law because he's the best one in the deck. Whenever you summon Bonnie, you really want to get this guy because you can return either a Nami or even just an Otama, whatever red card you have on the board. Summon him, then you can use his effect to get back the Bonnie to your hand, and you can summon a Zoro, a Robin if you have one, Nekomamushi to do some combos. You can do the killer for blocker. You can put any blocker if you'd like. You have so many options. He's so broken. It's crazy. Luffy, self-explanatory. You kill a lot of people with this guy. If you don't have Law, you can still return the Bonnie with Luffy, which is absolutely broken. He's unblockable if you put 2 Dawns on him, so there's a lot of plays you can make with this guy. Go for game with him. You can kill Killer, the 8-kid cost, whatever his name is. And yeah, it's a very, very good card. I only play 3 though because it's a bit clunky. And yeah, don't put 4, it's not good. All right, Robin. I only play 1. I know it's weird, but if you're an experienced player and you play another experienced player, it's not good. As good as you might think, at least. Unless you summon her on turn 2, you know, when you have 3 or 4 mana, she can still die even. Somebody's just going to Nekomamushi it, or, you know, she's very easily killable. And if you're playing a good player, like let's say a Lawmere, you don't want to have this because 2 good players are going to try to get a board full of Laws and Luffys and Zoros. If you have a guy that's 4,000 attack, she's not really going to do much. Usually when I play a good player, I tend to get a board filled with Laws, Luffys, and Zoros. I don't want to have anything under 5,000 attack, so if I ever do plan on making my attack, I don't have to toss that much counter to protect my guys. If I have Robin and I put a Dawn on her and attack, she's just tapped with 4k. It's like, I'm not going to be able to save her. Congrats, I killed one of your guys. It's not that great of a, it's not that big of a deal, truthfully. So I only have 1. I might cut the Momo for a second one just because she's really good versus red Luffy. And like I said, this deck struggles a bit versus that deck. If you're playing an experienced red Luffy player, you will struggle a bit. And she's just good. If you start first and you summon her, you can actually really pummel them down and kill a lot of their guys. So I think I'm going to put 2 for this Treasure Cup tournament coming up. And then we'll go from there. Zoro, absolutely broken card. Absolutely broken with Law. Whenever you bounce something with Law, you summon the Zoro. You can attack with Zoro, summon Law, bounce back the Zoro to hand, even just summon it again. And you don't even have to attack with it. You can just leave it untapped. So he can hit your face and give you some cards, give you more cards to your hand if you wanted to hit your life, basically. Absolutely broken card. He's only 3 mana. Yeah, I like them a lot. That's basically most of the deck. The last 3 cards are the jet pistols, very important. You need them versus green with Otama. You'd probably lose if you didn't have them. It's good versus red-green Law. You can kill the Laws, the Luffys. It's just good versus a lot of stuff. Kaido, you can kill the Queens. It's just broken. This card's really good. And if you get it off the trigger, I mean, I don't rely on that, but if you do, congratulations. You're lucky and you get to kill something. So this is the deck. It's broken. It's refined. My friend Top Ford Absolute, who's recording the video, with this exact same deck, except he had 1 card difference. We refined it as much as possible. This is our list. And yeah, that's basically it.
Okay.
Yeah, you have any questions?
Yeah, I'll definitely have some questions for you personally, and I guess and for the deck as well. I guess the first one would be, obviously I know this, but you know, you do have a lot of TCG experience, you know, from Hearthstone to Yu-Gi-Oh to man, even like TFT, all these things, right? So what would you say, I don't know, what is your background with that, and like how is this game One Piece itself similar to that? You know, is it fun? Is it like how, and you know, for this deck specifically, like what, like, I don't know, give me some, I guess, some tips there.
I would say if you've never had any TCG experience, don't play this deck. It's sad to say, but this deck is very complicated. There's a lot of plays you can make. It's just extremely high caliber player. You need to be a good pilot to play this deck, and if you're not, it's kind of, this game's a bit like chess in a sense, where if you just make one error, you're gonna lose the game. Especially with this deck, it's so complicated. If you want to play it right, you can play it extremely differently versus many other different matchups, and you have to really play well. You know, when you're playing versus Kaido, you do completely different things. Like, you want to summon a blocker and like turn 3 summon Zoro and attack with your hero, right? I don't do that versus any other matchup. Versus blue, I'm not even going to talk about blue. Blue sucks. I just get a free win versus blue. I literally just summon a board and I just win. It's kind of sad. Versus Luffy, the red Luffy, that's my hardest matchup, I think. I feel like they're very aggressive, and like I said, they play 4 Robins, and the way you beat my deck is by getting rid of my board, and they do it very well because they always summon the Robin. So that's why I tend to mulligan for Neko instead of the Bonnie, because if I could summon the Neko and kill your Robin, then I'll have a chance to fill my board to 5 and use my Law's effect. And whenever I use my hero's ability versus any matchup, it's such a tremendous advantage because you're summoning a 6k attacker and a 5k attacker, and it's just so much pressure. It's ridiculous. That's how you usually win with this deck, but red Luffy is my hardest matchup, I feel, right now. Kaido's also okay hard. Like, they still have to get the stage and stuff. What other good decks are there? The Zoro deck. That I've probably played 1,000 times versus red Zoro. I've lost 0 times versus that deck. I don't even need to talk about it. I don't know why or what the difference is, but it can just never beat me, which is strange. The blue purple Croc, same thing with that deck. They have 0 chance to beat. I can bet my arms. You know, nothing will happen. Like, I'll never lose versus that deck. If I play the deck just even remotely decently, the deck doesn't have a chance.
Right.
Yeah, what other deck am I missing? I know I'm missing, green, of course, Kid. That deck's tough because they tap all your guys, and if you're playing a good player, they're just not going to make you get 5 guys, and that's relatively hard. But versus them, if you don't attack their life and give them advantage, and you just let them smash you at the early game, mid to late game, you just mount an attack and gain so much advantage where they can't do anything, and they're just going to play their big drops, and you're just going to Otama Jet Pistol them late game, and you're going to win. And I played many green kids in this tournament that I won, and yeah, it was very, very, very close games, but I still pulled it out, and I showed them why this deck is better.
All right. Well, I know we're kind of stretching the video a little bit, but I wanted to get into, I guess, more depth on the deck building part. And speaking about Kid, you know, obviously when you're playing Law, red-green Law, that is, you have access to both the red cards and the green cards. Why aren't you playing the 8 cost kid? Why aren't you playing higher cost stuff? Like, why did you really focus down on just the 5 cost Luffy's, 5 cost laws, and you know?
Right. Well, that's because the best card in the deck is Bonnie, and she just gives you a card every turn. And I want to play her every single turn, if possible. So the problem with, let's just start off with the 5-drop starter deck kit, Law, the one that untaps a Supernova. He's a trap because you have to return a red card to summon him, unless you're paying 5 mana. And I don't want to do that because I want to play my Bonnie, tap her, and either return a red guy and then summon him to return my Bonnie, or summon my Luffy to return my Bonnie. And I want to do that every turn. And when I have that guy, I have to choose between him or Bonnie, and it's just not good. It just stops my engine. It doesn't feel right. It's not necessary. It's like, it's good, but it's not as good as summoning the Bonnie and tapping her.
Okay.
So he's a trap. The 8 mana kid, he's good with a lot of blockers, which I have a ton, but he's just not good enough. You know, like, he's just not. If you play versus Law Mirror, they'll just Atama Jet Pistol it sometimes, and it's like rather annoying. It's way more powerful to just summon your 6k attackers and 5k attackers and make a board of 5 and 6k attack guys, and then you just tap them all one turn with a few counters in your hand, and you wish them luck. That's how you want to do it. If your opponent is not as experienced, he'll even attack into you, and then you'll be able to just kill his guys. If you're playing a really experienced player, the game gets very complicated, and it's you don't want to attack with anything, and it gets really freaking hard to play, and it's like pretty crazy. So you're gonna have 2 boards with like 5-6k guys on there, full of Luffy's and Laws, and that's when the real game starts. But other than that, I don't like the 8 kit cost. It's too easy to kill.
Yeah. So if I could just kind of add in, personally, like, I don't really like the 8 cost kid or the 7 cost one, or playing a lot of high Dawn cost creatures, or I guess characters in this game, is because you always want to be activating this law, right? Like, any turn that you're not activating your
Right.
leader law's effect,
You're losing.
you're losing, right? So essentially, you're trying to do whatever you can to make sure on your third turn, so the turn you have 5 or 6 Dawn, is to make sure you absolutely have 5 characters on the field, and then you're paying 2 Dawn to get $5 of value from a Luffy or a Law, and if ideally it's the character Law, where you're getting another full value, where you're returning a 1 cost for a 3.
Right.
So essentially, the deck building is very important in this game, and you could go into an event and your opening hand is too clunky and you can't really go off with anything. With that being said, One Piece is one of the fewer games that has a mulliganing rule. What kind of tips would you give to players about mulliganing, and what to really look for? Like, what is ideal?
Sure.
And
I mentioned it a bit earlier, but I'll be more in depth about it. This is what you want to mulligan for every damn turn, every game. This is what you want. Versus Red Luffy, you can go for the Nekomamushi and Otama combos, or Nekomamushi and Brook, because you really need to kill that Robin. You can maybe have a Gungam Jet Pistol. But majority of the games, I don't even look at my cards. I just want one of these in my hand. If I get one of these in my hand, you're going to lose, because I'm going to be able to tap her on either turn 3 or 4 and use my Law's ability. By then, I should have a Zoro, Luffy, or a Law, and I'm going to be able to return her to my hand and do it every single turn. And if you're going to try to kill me, then that means you're going to have to hit my life, and you're just going to give me more cards, and I'm going to have a lot more cards to play with. So I'm going to be able to block more, I'm going to be able to counter more, and I'm going to be able to kill your guys more and use my Law more. So if you want to mulligan with this deck, the only thing you need to do is mulligan for Bonnie. There is nothing else to do. There's nothing special about this deck. You just mulligan for Bonnie. If you're playing Kaido, you kind of want to mulligan for Bonnie as well, but remember, Kaido is a different beast. You have to be very aggressive versus him. You want the Namis maybe to get the Zoro, or you want the Zoro. If you play Zoro on your turn 2 for 3 mana, for 3 Dawn, you just attack with your Zoro, you attack with your hero. On his turn, he usually goes stage, and he puts 6 on his Kaido. You can toss a counter. If you don't have a counter and you have a blocker, you can just block. You don't really have to go crazy with the 5 guys in Law effect. You can go on the slower route with Kaido because you're just putting so much aggression on him. That's how you beat that deck. So if you're losing versus Kaido with this deck, you'll know why. And if you want to beat it, summon Zoro very early on an attack, basically.
All right. Right on. Well, with that being said, I wanted to thank you, Justin, for doing this deck profile with us. And I'm sure I'll do another interview with you day two on Sunday. I mean, I'm hoping that we could get the win here at Niagara. If you guys see us, you could say hello. And yeah, if you want to give any advice to us in the comments on like what kind of questions we should be asking or what kind of decks you want to see, I'll be at the convention center tomorrow, which is Saturday. And you know, if you want me to look at any decks, I'll go ahead and do that. And yeah, everyone have a nice day. Take care.
Peace, guys.